Welcome to this tutorial for resume do's and don'ts. This is the first step in your job search process. Now let's focus first on what is a resume. A resume is basically a summary of your career history and what you can offer an employer. It focuses on your skills and talents, your work experience, your education. Now, probably what you think is that a resume is used to get you a job, but not really. A resume is to get you an interview. The interview process is what will get you the job. I'm going to go over the types of resumes there are out there and what you would need to use them for. The first type of resume is the functional resume, and this one is for it's usually applied when you want to do a career change, or maybe if you don't have a lot of experience in a particular job area, you could possibly use a functional resume if this is your first job too, a first job in a particular field. And the next one is the chronological resume. Now the first thing you'll want to do is do a self-assessment. A self-assessment is basically finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you want to ask yourself that question: what are my strengths and weaknesses in terms of skills, experience, and education? And when we talk about skills, we're talking in very general terms, as in, for example, your communication skills, your organizational skills, writing skills, things like that, mathematical skills even, if that's required in whatever position you're looking for. Experience is, the hands-on experience that you had at whether a previous employer, or maybe if you're new at the job, in the job market, if you had internships and things like that. The next point is you want to ask yourself, what is your ideal job, and what is it that you would like to do? Doing something that you enjoy is going to definitely help you keep that job and make a very good impression for anything you do in the future. Second point is identifying what your purpose is. Now that depends on where you are in life as far as looking for a job. If it's your first job, you might want to use a functional resume because it will sell the general skills and experiences that you can bring to a position. You could also use it for a career change because at some, in this stage, if you're changing to something new, you're basically almost like your first job in a particular field. If you're continuing in a present career, you might want to use it as a chronological resume to show that you're continuing on from where you were before, and that you do have a lot of experience in a particular area, expertise. You can do for internships. You might want to do a functional resume with an emphasis on your education if you don't have a lot of experience in a particular field. And advancement from your present job, and this is similar to the continuing your present job, but you might want to, depending on what it is that you're trying to do, you could put a lot of emphasis on education and that, you're trying to do advancement in your position. Now, parts of the resume. The first thing, of course, is the introduction. Who are you? You want to make sure that your contact information is clearly placed at the top along with your phone number, address, and so forth. The next point is the objective. What it is that you want from this company when you submit your resume. I want a position as a XYZ clerk at ABC company. Now, work experience, where have you been? Of course, this is the chronological part of any resume. What kind of company have you worked for in the past? The skills, what is it that you can do? Now you're going to really mix these two areas together, the work experience and the skills, when you write out your resume. Education, what is it that you know? What was your major in college? What is your expertise? Honors, have other people noticed? The third step here is for the first draft of your generic resume. Now, I suggest that you create a generic resume because from that basic resume that has all your information down for you already, you can tailor that resume to a targeted employer based on the job description. That you can just change some things around as you go. You can change the format, you can change the emphasis, you can change the type of resume that it is. Next point here is, how do you write a resume? You want to make sure that you use action words in describing your skills and experiences. So you might say you managed 25 people in the company. You organize meetings for the executives of the company. You communicated with 100 people every day in your company. You prepared paperwork. Maybe you created story ideas for the newsletter for your company, whatever. I mean, and those are just some examples, of course. Now, the headings on a resume will kind of indicate to the employer what type of resume it is. So the type of resume is determined by those headings. For example, your emphasis would be skills and experience and creating a function, and that's part of creating a functional resume. And the emphasis on experience with skills and accomplishments, are you creating a chronological resume? Now, if we focus in a little bit more on a functional resume, the emphasis is on the skills and the experience you can bring to the company. Your headings might be something like communication, and then you would list under that different ways that you communicated with your customers, with your coworkers, things like that. Again, with organization, well, how did you organize things, and what did you organize, etc. Chronological resumes, the emphasis is on your work experience, followed by skills demonstrated on the job. The headings on these would be just the specific work experiences that you have. For example, you just list the name of the company that you worked for, the position and the date that you worked with them, and what you did there. So, but be again specific about the tasks that you did, your skills. I answered 100 phone calls a day, whatever it was, whenever you worked at whatever place. So the next point is your education. In this area, you would include any degrees, diplomas, or technical training certificates. And you could include specific classes taken if you feel that would add to your credibility. And this is the emphasis. There are resumes that do have education as the emphasis, and that's usually for people who have just graduated from college, or maybe are doing a career change and they went back to school and they had to take whatever required classes. The next thing is there's a section for many resumes, depending on whether you want to put it in or not, but I usually put it in. It's called the highlights section, where it gives a highlights of your qualifications, and that's basically a summary even of all the things that are in your resume, and you just simply put a small little paragraph on the top, maybe with some bullet points, one sentence each of highlighting your qualifications, maybe the top 5 of those qualifications. Would they be maybe your education is top, or your work experience, whichever. But you'd put it at the very top, right under the contact information. You would emphasize your strengths in that little place. Be concise when you do it, and use action words like you did before. Formatting, the layout of your page. You always want to make sure that your contact information is at the top, and that you follow that with the highlights of your qualifications if you choose to use that style of formatting. And then you need to, from there, you focus in on whatever your emphasis is, which would be the skills or your work experience. The next point is you want to make sure that your neatness counts. You want to use a computer to create your resume. Make sure that you use a spell checker to make sure that everything is spelled correctly. Sometimes there are words that have double meanings in our English language, and you want to make sure that you're using the correct version of that word. So make sure you have someone read it over, somebody who knows a little bit about our language, and they can pick out some errors. And once you find errors of any kind, you make sure you reprint that resume. You can also use a heavyweight cotton paper. It gives it a very professional look. You can find more information about how to write resumes at our website at www.jobhuntersedge.com. That's www.jobhuntersedge.com, and we have a link up in the upper right-hand corner that you can click on. It'll take you right there, and that again is www.jobhuntersedge.com. All right, we'll see you on another tutorial. Bye-bye.